to reach the highest high. You'd laugh and say nothing's that simple. But you've been told many times before, Messiah's pointed to the door. No one had the guts to leave the temple.
He is free. Julian Assange is free. He was released yesterday. He got on a plane to Australia. Presumably, he's back there with his family. And that is the top story of the night. Welcome to Real News Live. This is a special Toxically Masculine Tuesday with your host, Mike Barra, in Las Vegas, Nevada. Joined tonight, as I always, if not frequently, am by Dr. Brooks Agnew somewhere in the Carolinas. Brooks, how are you doing tonight? And what
wonderful. It was 93 today with the humidity about 400%, but it was a good day. Clear Carolina blue skies.
What a wuss day. It was 109 here. Also joined, of course, as I frequently usually am, by TV's Blake Wally, somewhere east of California. Blake, how are you doing tonight? And what are you drinking?
Doing well. Great to be here. I'm going to be drinking, again, the Elvis Whiskey Midnight Snack. It's like a banana, bacon, and peanut butter. Very sweet. All
right.
Okay.
And joined for the first time on camera by the newest member of the team, no longer a disembodied voice with the bad green screen in the lower corner there, my buddy, killer.
This
He's a fucking killer. Steve.
This is your equipment.
Doran.
So anything
Steve Doran. Shut up, Steve. We wait until Mike's done talking on this show, Steve. Steve Doran, the trail boss, is somewhere in Arkansas, the future governor of Arkansas, Stephen Doran. How are you tonight, and what are you drinking, buddy?
I only drink Trail Boss whiskey. I make it myself. So,
really? You have a still?
100 proof. Oh, yeah. You got the whole 9 yards.
Wow. Trail Boss
anyway,
whiskey.
If there's any technical difficulties, any crap going on, it's Mike's fault because he uses cheap shit. So
it is my fault, and I don't know what the hell happened tonight. We were late because of me. We had some technical difficulties, but it worked out well because TV's Blake Wally was running a little late, and we got him in here. In time for this. All right, guys, the top story tonight is that Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks master, the founder of WikiLeaks, the guy who helped bring down Hillary Satan Clinton in 2016, is out of prison. He made some sort of plea deal with the United States government. I don't think we know the parameters of it yet, but I just want to remind everybody who this guy is. He is the one who got the DNC, Democratic National Committee, emails from a gentleman named Seth Rich, who gave them to Kim.com, who's a guy in Australia, or New Zealand, subsequently gave them to Julian Assange, who published them. These exposed that the Democrats had fixed the primaries for Hillary Clinton, even though she probably would not have won the Democratic nomination in 2016. It exposed the dirty politics, and Seth Rich paid with his life for that information. So Julian Assange has a long history let's go back and look at a few of his previous interviews, and you can see what he's all about. And this guy, I think, in my opinion, whether you love him or hate him, and some people hate him, I think this guy is a truth teller. So let's go back, and this is an interview he did with Megyn Kelly back, I believe, in 2016. So let's switch over to that and let it run.
At the U.S. election, as you point out, you're not an American citizen. You're an Australian. You know, you're clearly not rooting for Hillary. But are you rooting for Trump?
No. I mean, if we have good information on Trump, we publish that. If we have good information on Hillary, the Democrats, we publish that. It is a bit concerning, the allegations that by the Clinton campaign that everyone is a Russian agent are really disturbing. Why is that? Well, because bizarrely, Hillary Clinton, the Democrat, has positioned herself now to be the security candidate. She's powered up with the neocons responsible for the Iraq War, and she's grabbed on to this kind of neo-McCarthyist hysteria about Russia and is using that to demonize the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign has all sorts of things wrong with it, but as far as we can see, being Russian agents is not one of them. You know, some people have asked us, when will you release information on Donald Trump? And of course, we are very interested in all countries to reveal the truth about different candidates so people can understand. But it's really hard for us to release anything worse than what comes out of Donald Trump's mouth every second day. I mean, it's part of his charismatic appeal that he speaks off the cuff.
Okay, that's one of the things he said. This is another one where he said some more information to Megyn Kelly. Let's go back.
Not rooting for Hillary, but are you rooting for Trump?
Wrong one. Sorry. This one here.
Hillary Clinton has done quite well strategically to try and draw connection between Trump and Russia because she has so many connections of her own. Now, my analysis of Trump and Russia is that there is no substantial connection. Why do I say that? Well, because Trump was trying to invest in Russia before Putin in the 1990s, after Putin, in fact, nearly all the way up to the present moment. And he's had no success. He did not manage to build hotels and so on in Russia. So that shows how insubstantial his contacts are. There's an extremely well-documented pattern of when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, those people, companies, governments, who wanted a decision by the Secretary of State in their favor, making large donations to the Clinton Foundation, or in some other cases, business deals with the people around Hillary Clinton. Now, one particular instance is the approval by Secretary Clinton of selling 20% of the US uranium reprocessing rights to a Russian company to be exported to Russia. So at that time, a large donation was made by those Russian interests to the Clinton Foundation. In addition, Clinton's campaign manager, Podesta, was on the board of a company called Juul Unlimited. And Juul Unlimited held some of these rights and received a $35 million investment from Russia.
Okay, so we know that John Podesta is dirty. We know that he's a pedo. We know that Hillary Clinton's dirty as sin, and this guy is now free. He's free to speak. He's free to say anything he wants. Brooks, let's start with you. You're pretty knowledgeable on this stuff. What do you think he's going to say? And I personally believe a bunch of stuff is going to break before the presidential debate on Thursday, which we're going to talk about later. But shoot it, Brooks.
Well, it could. I mean, he really has nothing to lose. He made a deal. He cut a deal to plead guilty for conspiracy. He was to serve 62 months, which is how long he's actually been in captivity. And so it was time served. So he got out, got on a plane. But the thing about Julian Assange is he has only published well vetted, independently verified truth, and he doesn't hold back. And in my opinion, he's one of the greatest reporters that has ever lived. And to put him in prison for reporting on the crimes of the people in governments, and not just our government, other governments as well, that is the epitome of hypocrisy. So this debate that's going to happen on Thursday, there's so much dirt on Joe Biden, it isn't funny. You got to be aware, though, that his main man, the guy that carried the poison pill with him for a long, long time, was actually tracked down. He was jumping trains, going from train to train to train to train to stay fluid. They tracked him down, murdered him, and threw his backpack in a river out the window of the train. And they found his backpack, but they never found him.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Just in case anybody doesn't know, this is Seth Rich, the former DNC operative.
I have a whole chapter on the assassination of Seth Rich in my book, Charm a Favor.
Well, then you would be the guy to talk to about this. This is the young man who was murdered in Washington, D.C., they say, by MS-13 agents hired from El Salvador through John Podesta. Some of the WikiLeaks emails expose that he discusses wet works, which is to basically it's spy talk for murder. TV's Blake Wally. I mean, I know you're a bit of an Assange fan. What do you think about this, and what do you think the implications are?
Well, it's interesting that they would release him, but I guess they, forced him into a, felony. I guess he was going to die in prison. So I don't know what the other motive is. I hope that he can share some more information because he's seen all the dirty details of all these things. And I think they did have a dead man switch at one time when they were trying to release it. Right before we had a big DDoS attack. That was in 2016. So I don't know what they knew, but it seemed like WikiLeaks just completely went silent after that. After they were really, really rolling there for a while and making the establishment nervous, they really did some damage to the DNC. Of course, with the leak from, we assume that's easily Seth Rich. There's an easy connection there. Of course, they put him away and they buried the story, and they call everybody conspiracy theorists who show any kind of curiosity at solving his unsolved murder. So he's they're both heroes. I'm glad he's out, and I hope that he can continue to do some work somewhere, even if it's Australia. So yes, I mean, he deserves to. It's too bad he had to take the felony because he deserves to get compensated. But now that he took that deal, of course, he's not going to be able to do anything unless hopefully maybe Trump gets in and can pardon him.
Well, yeah, if he does pardon him, which there's a long road to hoe there. The interesting thing is that he's got so much already. He can do a tremendous amount of damage just by releasing what he already has. He doesn't, believe me, he'll find a way to make some money on this. I'm sure he will be in high demand for an interview. But what if Steve? He's never officially said Seth Rich was my source inside the DNC from 2016. But what if he does? What if he comes out now and says my source was murdered, I think, by the Democratic Party? Do you think that has any impact? Or what do you know about Assange, and what do you think?
Well, I mean, a couple of things. I've been through this, right? So the government went after me on multiple occasions.
Yep.
And, the fact was I didn't cut any deals. I went to trial. But you don't know. I mean, part of his quote unquote with his deal may be that he keeps his mouth shut. There's other issues that are going on. I mean, he's got a family. They can threaten your family. They threaten my family. They threaten me. So it's a situation where at this juncture, until he gets home, until he gets well seated back in his home country, we don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, that's true. We don't have any real clear idea of what's going to go on here. But what I want to bring up is there is, believe it or not, a presidential debate on Thursday. The question is, why? I mean, what the fuck is going on? There are no presidential debates in July. Neither man has even received the nomination for his party yet. The presidential campaign traditionally doesn't start until after Labor Day.
Okay.
What is going on here? And again, there continue to be rumors, and other people tell me that the rumors now going around in the clear, and by that I mean in the mainstream media, the rumors going around that they're just looking for any excuse to get rid of Joe Biden, to get him off the ticket and or out of the White House entirely. So it seems to me that if he shows up on Thursday, they don't give him the right drugs, or they don't give him enough of the drugs, or they don't give him any drugs at all, fumbles, stumbles, and fumbles, that there will be a groundswell to remove this guy. And to be honest, I don't really buy this, Trump is part of an alliance and they're in control and this is all theater. I don't buy that bullshit. But on the other hand, if that's what happens, this is setting up to really fulfill that scenario. Is TV's Blake Wally or Brooks, you seem like you want to go first. I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean, we've been talking about Operation Gerald Ford for a while. And we've been trying to look for, or I guess the Democratic Party's been trying to look for a graceful way for them to save face and get Joe Biden out of the way. And there just isn't one. He's either going to go up and make a bungling idiot out of himself. They're going to 25th Amendment the guy. And then what? Then you're going to put Kamala Harris in there? You really want to see things get worse?
Yeah, that it Kamala Harris would definitely be worse. Steve, am I you know me, you're a grounded guy. I'm pretty grounded, but you're far more grounded than I am. Am I just being a nutty conspiracy theorist here? Or do you think that this is all, I mean, to me, if this was a plan, it's setting up exactly perfectly to have Biden his way through this thing and everybody clamoring to get rid of him. Okay,
well, if they're not clamoring to get rid of him now with all the crazy, insane, and ludicrous things done, you really think that a debate is going to make them go, oh, he's really crazy? I mean, we know he's really crazy right now. We know that his left him. And yet, do you see the American people like swarming Washington, D.C. going, get that nut job out of the White House? No. I mean, it's the same old story. Everybody says that let's take action. We got to do this. And nobody does a dang thing. Because, I mean, if this were 20 years ago, number one, the election wouldn't have been so. Two, if this guy had been duly elected, he'd have been out of there in about month 3. So I just don't have a lot of confidence that I'm sorry, in the American people to act because they haven't so far.
Yeah, that's true and sad. And, I think there's been I think the January 6th thing has intimidated a lot of people, and you don't see anybody on Trump's side say, no, go out in the streets and make a big deal out of it and we'll back you up, because they don't do that. So TV's Blake Wally, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? And do you think this debate, do you think that Assange, do you think he's going to drop something on Biden right before the debate? That would certainly make for interesting viewing on Thursday.
Yeah, it certainly would. But I don't know if he's going to get, incarcerated again. They'll come after him, and I wouldn't trust his safety there in Australia. So maybe he'll lay low for a little while, or maybe he can leak it to somebody else who can bring some information up there. That would be nice. And I do agree with you. That's a great point that they're going so early. It makes no sense until they've actually completed the nomination process, and we have the conventions coming up next month. And they couldn't wait for the debates then. So, yeah, it seems odd that they could be setting Joe up for failure. But at the same time, they got a big trap set up for Trump, too, in a hostile environment with CNN, with Jake Tapper, who's been extremely critical, as well as Dana Bash as the other moderator. And it turns out her husband is a CIA guy who was one of the 51 intelligence agents that, said that the Hunter laptop was Russian disinformation. And she was also criticizing the Supreme Court for letting him stay on the ballot in Colorado. So I don't know. It's going to be explosive. It's going to be some good fireworks. We're obviously going to tune in. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I have a feeling Trump's going to point that out. How come your wife, Jake? How come your wife was one of the people who was signed on? I mean,
it's going to make for a great drinking game.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. If something big breaks before the debate, then I think it's a setup. But if something, I don't know. It remains to be seen. Speaking of failures, how about Mike Pence? Mike Pence came out with a statement on the Julian Assange thing. And Mike, by the way, you're a pedophile and a fag and a traitor. What he said. Julian Assange endangered the lives of our troops at a time of war. No, he didn't, and should have been prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The Biden administration's plea deal with Assange is a miscarriage of justice and dishonors the service and sacrifice of the men and women of our armed forces and their families. There should be no plea deals to avoid prison for anyone that endangers the security of our military or the national security of the United States. Ever. Well, okay, so Mike Pence clearly positioning himself to the opposite of what Donald Trump's probably going to say about Julian Assange. And I'm assuming
the release of gun camera.
Go ahead,
Mike
Steve.
Pence should have wrote that about President Biden, not Julian
exactly. Well, yeah, exactly, because that's exactly what Biden has done. And here's the thing. I mean, Pence is a traitor. I got into a debate with a guy on Twitter, and he's like, well, Pence did his duty, and Trump tried to violate the Constitution. I said, excuse me, it's exactly the opposite of that on January 6th. Pence failed to do his constitutional duty because an objection was raised on the House floor, as you've pointed out many times, Brooks, and he was required by law to have that reviewed, and they didn't do that. So it's exactly the opposite. Trump and his people were following the Constitution. Mike Pence didn't. Mike Pence is a fucking traitor. Mike Pence is a pedo. Mike Pence is a butt fucker. Okay, that's and I mean a receiver, not a giver. Okay, because guys can anyway. So does this do anything?
You gotta learn to let things out, Mike. You got to learn to let things out. You're too much of a wallflower.
I do. Why is Mike Pence even breathing politically? Why is he breathing politically? Because, I mean, maybe he's not. He's really not. But somebody chime in here. Brooks?
Well, he's just spewing the party line, because the fact that Julian Assange released gun camera footage of American helicopter pilot gunships assassinating civilians in the streets, that does not violate the security of American troops.
No.
That exposes the homicidal, maniacal treatment of Middle Eastern people being machine gunned to death in the streets. They were unarmed in the streets. They just lit them up and killed them all. And we would never have known anything about it, except that Julian Assange got his hands on the footage and released it, and everybody saw it. Now, that doesn't put troops in danger. That puts whoever gave those troops the order in danger.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that 100%. And by the way, for those of you who don't think I'm right about Mike Pence, this is a picture saying that's not Mike Pence. If that isn't Mike Pence, then he's got an identical twin who's a fag. Okay, because that's fucking Mike Pence. And there's a whole bunch of pictures of this guy around. So give me a break.
It gives Harley Davidson a bad name.
He is another satanic sicko. Steve Doran, tell me, am I wrong about that? What do you think?
Negative. He's a soldier. He's a soldier for the deep state. He'll be around as long as they need him, and he'll be rewarded for all the things that he does.
But I don't think they need him anymore, do they? What good is he? I mean, he tried to run for president.
They need him until after the election, because he'll come out and he'll probably say, oh, yeah, I saw Trump do this. I saw Trump do that. Blah, 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 blah. In good conscience, I have to tell you.
TV's Blake Wally, any thoughts on Mike Pence?
Yeah, he's awful. That was a terrible pick in the first place. He's a deep state swamp creature. He's only, relevant with these really old boomer neocons that don't matter, not with the regular Americans. So they try to prop him up like he's got credibility because he was Trump's VP, and they like that he opposes Trump, I guess. But no, it's a stupid statement. I mean, I agree with Brooks. Wasn't putting American lives in danger. It was just embarrassing for the administration that they were caught committing war crimes. So no, Pence irrelevant. Only with the deep state, the bought and paid for media, and people that don't matter, that old Fox News people that don't care.
Yeah, the neocon. I don't think he's even relevant to those people because he got absolutely zero support. By the way, Dave Barrett, can you turn the goddamn air conditioning up? It's 109 here in Vegas today. It's I don't think he's relevant to anything or anybody. So speaking, however, of vice presidents, there are rumors going around that Donald Trump has picked his vice president. He said he's picked him or her, and they're going to be at the debate on Thursday. That doesn't mean he's going to acknowledge who it is, but the latest rumor, everybody seems to be putting this rumor out, is this guy, Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, I'm just going to call him Ramsey. It's easier. Vivek Ramaswamy. How about Vic Ramsey? Let's just shorten it to Vic Ramsey. Get an American name if you're going to run for president, dude. How about Mike Barrett, Donald Trump, Steve Doran? Those are American names. Blake
Those are
Wally,
American names right there.
Your name, okay? Hans Gudegas, the great actor of Rat Patrol, had to change his name to Eric Braeden, and he became a big soap opera star when he did that. That's how it works in America, Vivek. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Vivek Ramsey is not Eric Braeden, Dr. Forbin from Colossus, the Forbin Project, a great movie. Okay, so Vivek Ramsey, if that's the pick, do you like it? Do you not like it? TV's Blake Wally, let me start with you, and then we'll go to Steve.
I would absolutely love it. I'm actually a big fan of Vivek Ramaswamy. I think he's a rising star. And I think that media and the leftists, I think they're more terrified of Vivek than they would be of Trump. He is the ultimate insurance, but I think he still complements him well. Extremely smart, knows the game, and is going to give the media fits. Love it.
Yeah, he is pretty quick on his feet. I'll give him that. Steve, any thoughts about what do you know about Vivek Ramaswamy?
I have to disagree. I have to disagree with the TV guy.
Okay.
I don't think we know enough about his background. I think he's got some skeletons in the closet, and that he could be part of the deep state. And I just don't see him. I mean, he's quick-witted. He's very well-spoken. I mean, he's got a lot going for him, but I just do not see him as the powerhouse that President Trump needs, or will have the loyalty that he needs during the next 4 years.
Yep. Brooks, what do you think about the possible selection of Vivek Ramaswamy?
I'm with Steve. I like what he says. I like how fast he is on his feet, especially when they try to load questions and throw them at him. But if you look at his background, you see where his money came from. It came from BlackRock and Vanguard, not directly, but what they did is they invested in a company that he had founded that was not making a profit. It was having tons of technical difficulties with its patents and its FDA submissions. Nothing was approved. Nothing was in manufacturing. And yet Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street invested in his company, ballooned his stock up. He sold some personal stock into the market, became very wealthy because of it, funded his own presidential campaign, lost. Of course, he had to drop out. But he is a very, very fast with the mouth. But there are a lot of people, and Steve will back me up on this. There's a lot of people in prison today for fraud that speak as fast as he does and are very bright in business They just break the law. I just don't trust Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure I do either. He has a lot of deep state ties. Yes, Steve, you're like in the Twilight Zone there, dude. It's like you look like a transporter malfunction on Star Trek there.
Well,
with that
again, I'm
green
using
screen.
Mike Barra Industries equipment. I mean,
We got to
This
get
is
you a
your
good
gig.
background.
this is your gig
we
right
gotta
here.
get
This
you-
isn't mine. This is your
We gotta get
program,
you a
not mine.
good background, buddy. A good background, so you don't have to use that bad green screen technology. But or maybe a little more light would help. No, and then we can see it better.
It's the light and
Well-
the green screen.
well,
I think
then
maybe it's
I
not
could,
the same as Zoom.
I could potentially go dark and make everybody happy because
Or we'll get you a
then nobody gets.
we'll get you a ring light or something like that.
All
I
right.
don't entirely trust him either. He's got some deep state ties, and Blake, I want to go back to you with that. I think he's got some ties to Soros-backed money, if I'm not mistaken, or somebody else who's pretty deepy statey. Yes.
Well, there was a grant while he was going to school that came from a nonprofit that was supported by Soros. That's where the Soros connection comes from.
Well, if Soros paid for your education, can I really trust you is the good question. Speaking of people, and we don't know, we have no idea, but that is one of the exciting possibilities. But, I think it would be funny. You remember what Trump did to Hillary the day when the what was it, Entertainment Tonight tape, or what was it, tape that came out?
Yeah,
Trump
yeah.
grabbing him by the pussy. So he brought like 3 or 4 women that Bill Clinton had raped to the next debate and said, "Your husband raped these women, and you didn't say a thing about it, Hillary." So that that was pretty big, bold move. So I think it would be great if he had 6 or 8 people there that nobody knew who the vice president was. He says he hasn't told anybody yet, so we don't know. Speaking of people that want to come back, I got to get a yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down. Mike Pompeo says he would be all in to serve under a potential second Trump administration. He was relatively loyal, but not really when push came to shove after the election. I will always remember Pompeo during the Kim Jong-un summit in Hanoi when they went in. They appeared to be this close to getting an agreement for Kim to give up his nuclear weapons. And then all of a sudden it broke up and Trump held a press conference. And that whole press conference, Pompeo was sweating bullets. And I found out later from my source, the mechanic, that there was a suitcase nuke threat to blow up Hanoi if the summit wasn't ended. And Trump did a news conference calm as shit for like 39 minutes. Guess what? 39 minutes is exactly how long it takes to prep Air Force One for takeoff. And 39 minutes, boom, they were done. They were out of there. But Pompeo basically gave the whole thing away. And I'm looking at Pompeo going, what is wrong with him? What is he afraid of? Why is he so agitated? I called my friend. He explained the whole thing. Hasma bin Laden, I believe is the name, son of Osama bin Laden, was the one who made the threat. And my friend told me, the mechanic told me, and within minutes of, as soon as they were in the air, there was $100 million bounty on the head of Hasma bin Laden. And less than 3 months later, he was gone. So I happen to know that shit all really went down. But that makes me wonder, let's assume that story's true. You guys are going to have to assume it. I know it's true. But can you trust Pompeo? Maybe we can just do a quick round the horn thing. Steve, we start with you. Do you trust Pompeo? Would you want him back in a new Trump administration or not?
I don't want anybody in the old Trump administration back. No one. He needs to wipe the slate clean and start fresh.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, it was if this is all a master plan.
As a chief of police or director of public safety, when you go in to a department and you have to recreate it because it's crap, the first thing you do is you fire everybody. That's your first rule. You bring everybody in and go, hey, for the last 4 years, 5 years, whatever, you guys have had the ability to change things around here to make it. And my first fix is to get rid of half the problem. Adios.
Yep. And again, do you think?
And the same thing goes for all the White House staffers. Gone.
Yeah. Do you think that Trump's first administration was a case of keep your friends close and your enemies closer?
No.
Or do you think he just hired a lot of bad people?
I think he hired a lot of bad people. He seems to be, if he likes you, he's kind of like, he reminds me of John from the personality perspective. If John Wayne liked you, you could do no wrong. You were his friend. And so Trump kind of has that same attitude. If he likes you or you've sold him on yourself that you're a good guy or whatever, he'll stick by you when he really should be booting you out the door.
So that's why you think he gets stabbed in the back a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because of that.
Because he's loyal to them. They're not loyal in return.
Right. Okay. Brooks.
And then he finally gets rid of him when they finally cut his throat. He'll ditch him.
Yeah. All right, but he's still standing. Brooks, what do you think about
2 weeks after the election? I went to Trump Tower. I was going to speak to President Trump about the future of energy. And when I got to Trump Tower, of course, there's security everywhere. There were press not 20 feet from the elevator behind a velvet rope, just snapping pictures like crazy. And when I got there, they didn't know who the hell I was, so they had to find out. They were snapping pictures and asking questions, and I didn't say anything to them. So I made it as far as Steve Bannon's secretary, but I have to tell you, the place was on fire, like a firehouse. Eric Trump was in and out. Reince Priebus was in and out. They were running around. They had no clue. They had to hire Steve Bannon's secretary, who, by the way, is very good at organizing and keeping schedules going and keeping everything on track, in order to keep the place sane. Trump was actually surprised that he won the election. He thought Hillary was going to win. Everybody thought Hillary was going to win. When he did win, he had to put together an administration, and he didn't realize there were about 10,000 offices he had to fill in like 3 weeks. So it was crazy. It was just crazy. And Trump made a lot of mistakes, He won't make them this time.
Right. Blake, TV's Blake Wally. Mike Pompeo, yay or nay in a second Trump administration?
Absolutely not. And if I do remember, I thought he threw him under the bus. I'm not 100%, but I know he was also trying to contemplate running for president himself.
Yep.
No, I don't trust him at all. Should not be there. And I know Vivek Ramaswamy has a lot of red flags, but I would take a chance on him as an outsider. But I think that you also need to have some kind of an outsider come in there as well. I agree with Steve. You got to just clean house, but it's difficult. As Brooks is saying too. You don't know all these positions. You got to have some insiders that you can trust to keep things going and tell you how things work in Washington and keep things smooth. But you got to keep these people on a short leash and watch them. And with the second administration, I know Trump would be very, very cautious about every move that he makes. So
I would think so, because it's just make or break.
By the way, relative to Pompeo, once CIA, always CIA.
Yeah.
When I saw the look on little Kim's sister's face when they snapped that picture of her, it was like death. I mean, this is a woman who was so mad. You didn't not want to be within 50 feet of her. She looked like she could kill you with a 45 caliber automatic. Pompeo totally wrecked that meeting. Totally wrecked it. And it showed on her face.
Interesting. Okay. Moving on across the pond, Nigel Farage decided to run for prime minister. And I forget the name of his party. Does anybody
remember? The Reform Party.
Reform Party. He's basically calling out the Tories and said, guess what? They're not a real party. They never keep any of their promises. We're going to close the border. We're going to deport the illegal aliens. And we're going to get rid of a whole bunch of taxes. And he also said the other day that the West provoked the war in Ukraine. So Dr. Brooks Agnew, we'll start with you. You're our Ukraine expert. What do you think about that? What do you think about Farage?
Well, this was crazy because, we've been talking about it since 2014.
Right.
And here is a guy who's got the national stage, the national bully pulpit, and he says, look, NATO, we're the aggressors. We are the ones that marched ever closer to Russia, ever closer. We're the ones that provoked the incursion in Ukraine. And the left absolutely just set their hair on fire. They could not believe that somebody with a national pulpit was saying what we say almost every single day since 2014. It's true.
Yep. Okay. Blake, what do you think about Nigel Farage and his chances of winning the prime ministership of England? Depends on if the election is legit or not, right?
I'm a big fan. He's one of the great characters. Some people are skeptical, but yeah, he was instrumental in the whole Brexit thing. He's got balls. He's fearless. He stood up to the UN. He goes after everybody. I believe he's even survived like a couple of assassination attempts. Like I could be wrong. I think they tried to crash his plane. They do not like him. He is a nationalist. He is a populist. Yeah, he would be a big threat to the establishment there. So I would expect them to do everything they can to derail his aspirations. But I certainly hope he gives them hell and pulls out the victory there.
Well, I think
somebody's got to do something because they're about to nuke the UK.
I think if the election is fair, Nigel Farage wins it. Steve, any thoughts about Nigel Farage? Do you like him? Do you care about him? You got any opinions about those Brits? Or
honestly, I don't know enough about him.
Yeah.
In all sincerity, I'm more concerned with what's going on in our country, unless it affects us from a nuclear attack, or I guess my thing is that or the only thing I know about him really is he's a what do they call it, a grandstander. And so that is never really impressive to me when you're talking about somebody running an entire nation.
Right. But on the other hand, how could he be any worse than Labour or the Tories? I don't see how he could be worse. I could do it better.
Again, I mean, let's face it, their country has been screwed up for so long.
Yeah.
The chances of them bringing it back are about zero, unless, of course, I mean, throughout the world, it's the same story. You got Scotland, you got England, you got all of these countries bringing in these quote unquote refugees who are destroying the fabric of their country. And it's going to take the people in to scare the hell out of the politicians to the point where things revert back to normal.
Yeah. I mean, destroying their national identity. Blake, I guess you know more about Farage than anybody else. I think he's sincere. I think one of the first things he'd do is start deporting people if he got into power. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I think Britain needs to regain their national identity. Am I wrong, or would he be a good choice to lead their country?
Absolutely. Otherwise, they'd still be part of the Euro or European Union.
Yeah.
So without him, there would be no Brexit.
Right.
So I do think he's a man of his word. And if he got in there, he's a nationalist, but he loves working with the other countries. So he is a good guy, but they don't like that. They want everybody under the EU or the UN or the World Economic Forum, the New World Order, what have you. So he is a threat to that. So he's kind of, like Trump or some of these other, populist candidates that we've had a few, Millet or Bukele. There's not a whole lot, unfortunately, but that would be a huge change for England. So I think that's absolutely, they have to.
Tell them the candidate that lets them have their guns back will impress me.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good point. There's a good point.
Oh, now you're talking about the Irish proclamation from 3 days ago. Holy shit. Bayonets fixed. Fixed, and they made the proclamation. Wow.
What did they say exactly?
Well, they basically said, get the Muslims off the island. It's our island, our families.
Yep.
And if you're not Irish, you don't belong here.
Yep.
And they're saying Irish everywhere, all over the world. And there's
the IRA is still strong. They never went away.
Well, this proclamation was a declaration of war, and they were in uniform.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, Conor McGregor is kind of a leader of that movement, the UFC fighter. And remember, kids, it's not gay if it's just MMA. Okay, it's not gay if it's MMA. No matter if you have your nose up some other guy's butt rolling around sweaty on the ground on the canvas, it's not gay if it's MMA. Yes, it is. It's not a real sport. Boxing's a sport. All right. I want to do one cultural thing before we get to Brooks's special dissertation at the end of the show. 72-year-old Bill Belichick has a new girlfriend, and for some reason, this is making news. I just got into a flame war with Mark Schlereth, a former Pro Bowl NFL offensive guard who blocked for the Terrell Davis when Terrell Davis and the Broncos, and not John Elway, won 2 Super Bowls in the late 90s. And he got all over me, but he said something to the effect of, "Yeah, I'm sure she likes that gooey body." But this is Bill Belichick's new girlfriend, and apparently she's a former Patriots cheerleader. And she's 24 years old, and Bill's 72.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
This girl.
Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I. Just the two of us.
Again, let's get a close up here. There's Bill. There's this girl on an airplane. Okay, I don't see the problem with this. Bill Belichick is getting admonished, and of course, the women who aren't Bill Belichick's girlfriend are using the word they always use for stuff like this. It's creepy. Okay, yeah, there's a big age gap, but look, Steve, I want you to listen to this because I want to get your comment first, and then I'll go to Brooks and Blake, because you're, out of all the masculinity that's toxic on this show, you are the most toxic.
Thank you.
Men want youth, beauty, sweetness, femininity, skills in the feminine arts. That's what we want. That's never going to change. That's never changed throughout human history. Women are attracted to money, status, and power, and looks are probably fourth. When they're in their 20s, yeah, it's probably all about the looks. Look at the dating apps. Look at all the stuff that goes on there. But then these women get ran through by 50 or 60 or 100 guys, and nobody wants them in their 30s. They want to marry them. It's a big social problem. What if these two people like each other? Bill is just, to me, he's just going with what is natural for men, which is to be attracted to youth, beauty, femininity. Look at her. She's pretty. She seems sweet. And so everybody's, she's just a gold digger. It's just for the money. Well, yeah, of course. Women are attracted to men with resources. But when did the girls start making the rules on who could be with who? That's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, the reality is that's why American women are so upset. You see it all the time. Always go after foreign wives. It's because they bring more to the table. Because when you confront a woman, you say, okay, well, what do you, I mean, because, I truly believe that men and women, right, we're equal, but we have different roles. I can do, women can't do. There's things women do. And so what we're supposed to do is, shore, right? Not go after each other and say, well, I'm better than you are, and that type of thing. So,
right.
The reality is it's like relationships are nobody's business because, different people. If she's comfortable with it, he is, regardless of what their reasons are. Who gives a crap? And it's like, oh, creepy. Well, it's like it wasn't too long ago in this country when, my grandfather's era, when you would have, 17, 18-year-old guys marrying 12-year-olds and nobody gave it a second look.
Yeah.
Or even older guys. I mean, there's that story, and it's a true story in the South where a 90-some-year-old man married a 15-year-old girl because she was all that was available. So it's been around since the beginning of time. It's nothing new. And again, they're two consenting adults. If they want to be involved in that relationship, regardless of what the business with theirs.
Yeah,
I mean, how many times, Mike, have you been with women? How many times, Mike, have you been with women and other women, like the middle-aged women around the room, go, Mike, you're creepy? I mean, it's happened millions of times.
No, it's actually never happened. Not to my face. A little bit on Facebook. A little bit on Facebook.
Dude, who's in the background when you're on stage?
Just,
Who's working the crowd? Who's working the crowd while you're on stage? Me.
Yeah. But that's just Jenny Constantine. We don't worry about her. She's she's got a butt the size of everything. And she's the middle-aged MILF Mafia doesn't like this. And that's the thing, is I'm saying, let's not let the middle-aged MILF Mafia set the rules for men. Now, if he was the king or the prince, nobody would say shit about it. And it's all consenting, it's all voluntary. She's not being coerced. How do you know she's not submissive, supportive, and helpful and kind?
Well,
I mean, you don't know. You don't know what women he's been with.
If he was Muslim and had 15, nobody would say anything.
But that's again, that's wrong too, and that's a sick part of their religion. And by the way, she's 23. Okay, well, I just interviewed last week. I interviewed Marina Sarin, who's 23 from Madrid, and I like her, and we like each other. And frankly, if she was here, I would ask her out, and I would take her out. I would court her, because I like her for a whole lot of reasons. And it's not just that she's, a lot of it's because she's 23, but there are a lot of things that she and I have in common about aliens and UFOs and a lot of things like that also make her attractive, not just her age. And if she was 43, I'd still be interested in her. It's just, so why should I say, well, okay, I can't date anybody under 30 because I'm this age? Why? Because some women set those rules? Blake, are we going to allow women to set those rules for us? Or are we going to be guys? By the way, have you asked your girl out yet? Have you done anything? Put you on the spot?
That's a very complicated story. But no. That would be it's a big age gap. Granted, of course, he's famous. He's got a lot of money. She's probably a fangirl. It's no idea if it's actually permanent. It wasn't some arranged marriage. She obviously looks very happy. She's very into it. Normally, I would think that'd be strange. I have to have some kind of a mental stimulation. Yeah, she's very pretty, but it'd be difficult to date a 23-year-old. But at the same time, why would he want to turn that down? So just have a happy fling. I don't have an issue with it. I don't know why people would be freaking out about it. But yeah, like you said, it could be just MILF Mafia or something like that. People just want to be outraged over stuff.
Here's the women's rules, okay? If you approach a woman, even in a bar or a pickup joint where it's normal to talk to them, and you talk to them, open them up, say, hey, how's it going? My name's Mike. I'm multimillionaire, alien investigator. If she's attracted to you, it's flirty. If she's not attracted to you, it's creepy. My point is, let's not let men, this is a toxically masculine show for you guys, let's not let the women set the rules for who we can date. It's none of their fucking business. And by the way, Bill, and it appears to be a genuine relationship. This is not just Bill. This is not just Bill tapping some young thing. They apparently are spending all their time together. Brooks, you're a young man. Women are all over you at all times. You have to fight them off when we go to these conferences. I mean, literally, he punches them to get them away from him.
Hey, but for a couple of ice cream seasons, there go I. Okay, I don't blame Bill for doing what he's doing. It hasn't been that long in the U.S. Since guys would go to school, get a degree, go get their law degree, pass the bar, and then go back to their old high school to try to find a 16 or 17-year-old wife. That was common practice in our country. Wanted to start a family. They wanted a breedable female. She wanted to get away from high school, away from her parents. She wanted a car. She wanted a house, which an 18-year-old dweeb can't give her.
Right.
But a 30-year-old attorney who just passed the bar and has a couple years on the bench under his belt can. And that's how it works, ladies.
I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but, again, I'm attracted to women in a very wide spectrum of ages. And no, I know I make a lot of jokes about it, Deb, but it's no, I'm not just looking at the 20-year-olds, but all things being equal, it's I will date anybody that I find interesting in some way, shape, or form. And who's to say that this woman doesn't have some genuine interest in Bill? She was a cheerleader. Maybe she loves football. Who knows more about football than Bill fucking Belichick? You tell me that. I don't know the answer to that question. I think this is.
But it doesn't even matter. Have an agreement. That's all that matters. Whatever floats their boat. Because let's face reality, the rest of us are not involved in their day. If I was him, I'd be giving everybody the high hard one and being like, "Go away. It's none of your concern."
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and again, it's all over. And I gotta say, I'm disappointed in how many men like Mark Schlereth, who I thought you were a tough guy, Mark. You're actually a big pussy. Are like, oh, this is just wrong. Well, why is it wrong? Because your wife told you better say it's wrong or you're going to get in trouble, Mark? I mean, stand up for guys. Guys are good. We're good people. We built the world. We built civilization. Everything good, including the dating apps that you're using. Ladies were built by men. They were. That's the reality of it. All right. Last thing I want to talk about, Brooks, you are part of or aware of, there's a new movement out there. I wouldn't call it a militia movement or a militia group because it's not necessarily military, but it's a political movement that is starting to spring up. There's a lot of it on TikTok, I understand. Why don't you tell us about what's going on there and what the intent of these, re-inhabit the Republic movement is all about?
Well, everyone's aware that in 1871, there was kind of schism in the official status of the United States of America. In 1871, there was a corporation formed, and the corporation has basically monopolized the operation of the federal government since that time. The original republic that was set up for the United States of America went dormant. It's still there. All the offices are still there. All the republic purpose is still there, but there are no people in those positions. There's no president. There are no governors. There are no chief justices. There are no district attorneys. And so what has happened since 2016, specifically because the movement is kind of, people have become aware of it, and now we're beginning to see the legal ramifications of doing this. We are re-inhabiting that original republic. And right now, it is almost completely filled. Governors, district attorneys, we're a little bit behind on chief justices in various states, but secretaries of state, assemblymen, which can assemble grand juries, these offices are being filled. And right now there are 47 states that are almost have functional governments in the original republic. And the most interesting thing about it is universally, we all accept President Trump as the president of that republic. So when he gets reelected, we believe what he's going to do is bankrupt the corporation and its $40 trillion debt, write it all off, because that's what businessmen do when they have untenable debt like that,
right?
And re-inhabit the Republic of the United States of America. It will take about 4 to 5, maybe 6 months to have official elections. But until then, we already have officials ready to fill all those positions.
Steve Doran, you'd like to be sheriff of Izzard County? I'm sure you will be someday. I think you'll be an important person in Arkansas politics in the future. I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's basically people saying we're restoring the republic and getting rid of the corporation. Do you know anything about this? Would you be interested in it? Do you feel like you could be a leader of it? Because I do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole point is I base my whole professional career on the Constitution. I was the most fair policeman, but I was one of. And people don't realize is if you once you start giving things up, or once you start letting police agencies overstep their bounds, or governmental agencies overstep their bounds, you're just selling your freedom down the river. and you have to be able to stand up. We have to put people in power who, regardless of who's being investigated, regardless of who's being taxed or whatever the case may be, that it is done fairly and it is done constitutionally. And all this other crap and woke nonsense and all of these convoluted rules that nobody understands, and they're consistently breaking the law because they don't know they're breaking the law and all that stuff. All that crap has to be done away with. Again, we've got to start with a clean slate. We got to get rid of the tax code. We got to get rid of. We've got to start with a totally clean slate. And as we institute agencies, and I don't mean the same agencies, but we do need some regulatory agencies. They must be run 100% based on the Constitution.
Yep, absolutely, which they're not now. TV's Blake Wally, do you have any thoughts about this? It sounds like what they're trying to do is create the infrastructure for a Republican form of government starting, I guess, in January. Any thoughts on this, or what do you know about it yourself? Anything?
I don't know much about it, but I'd be all for it. So, yes, getting constitutional sheriffs and setting up a constitutional republic like we're supposed to. Restructuring government, cleaning up all this waste, reducing the size of the federal government.
Yeah.
All good, all positive developments. So I'd say bring it on.
Trump has suggested this week or last week. He said, why don't we just get rid of the income tax and just live off tariffs? We could just, because everybody needs access to our markets. So we're just going to use tariffs to pay for everything. And let's be honest, under the current fiat currency system, there's no taxes necessary at all because they could just print whatever amount of money they actually want to do anything. All right, guys, let's wrap this up with some predictions. This is usually the segment we do at the end. If you have a specific prediction for the week that's got nothing to do with Joe Biden or any of that stuff, you can make it here. Just anything you can think of that you think might happen between now and next week. And we will all forget what we predicted this week, next week anyway, so it won't matter. Rarely do we remember our predictions, but I am going to make a prediction. I am going to go out on a limb. I do think, I don't know if it's going to be Julian Assange causing it, but something is going to leak and it's going to blow up on Joe Biden before Thursday's debate or at Thursday's debate. So I would say by Friday, Joe Biden will be in a lot of trouble. That's my prediction. I'm probably wrong, but you never know. Brooks, you got any predictions for the coming week?
The prediction I have is that Caitlin Clark, who, by the way, is one of the up-and-coming stars in the WNBA. She came out of collegiate sports. She's on fire. She's fastest girl to 200 points in WNBA history. She's doubling attendance everywhere she goes. She's exciting to watch, and she's a good sportsman, and she's heterosexual, which is very rare in that league.
It is.
So my prediction is that the 6-member lesbian Olympic team judges that say who's going to be on the Olympic team and who won't be, they're going to capitulate and they're going to put Caitlin Clark on the Olympic team.
All right. TV's Blake Wally, you got any predictions for this week coming up?
I guess I'll stay with the Biden thing. I think maybe he'll have a disastrous performance. This won't be a replay of 4 years ago when he could still kind of get by, even with all the coaching. I'm hoping that Trump can throw him off his game and he'll falter, and the media will really start to question whether Biden can make it and whether he should be replaced.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think we're kind of in concurrence there. Steve, do you have any predictions for this coming week? Geopolitically, anything at all? It could be sports. It could be anything. Any thoughts, any predictions for this coming week?
Oh, we lost Steve's sound.
I think he's muted. He's on mute.
Steve, you might be muted. Are you?
There we go.
There we go.
Am I on?
You're on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Not that I disagree with you guys, but I really don't see anything happening with Biden. I do see a catastrophic event going down where they have to cancel it because something happened in the vicinity of where they were going to hold the event, or there's some threat of it. Juncture, I mean, as crazy as Biden's been, as all the off-putting things that he's done, he's still there and he's still the president, and they still pretend like he's in charge. I just don't see them personally hammering him.
Okay, we shall see what actually goes down then. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up. Steve, do not leave as soon as this is over again. We're going to talk after this a little bit. And thank you for being here. That's the show. And again, I predict Mike will get that 23-year-old's number. I already have her number. It's okay. But, here's the thing.
Are we talking about the blonde that you interviewed?
Yeah.
The psychic blonde?
Marina. The thing is that there is a scale. Like there's a sliding scale, right? It is no question easier for me to date a woman in her 50s or her 40s than it is to date a woman in her 30s or her 20s. I have to have more money, status, power, stature as a man, like Bill Belichick does. So it's like, guys, I'm just saying this is just the way life has always worked. And why suddenly what's happening is that you have what I call the MILF Mafia, which is trying to denigrate and deny men's choices. Okay?
The feminization of the United States.
We are men. We are masculine. We like what we like. And too bad if nobody likes that. All right? And we still like, doesn't mean we don't like you, ladies. Doesn't mean we don't like you 30, 40, 50-year-old ladies. It doesn't mean that. We're just saying men like what we like. And stop bothering us about it. Okay, that's going to wrap it up. We will be back next Tuesday. I'm on tomorrow with Jen from 10 a.m. Pacific time. Love you guys. Live long and prosper. Steve's not going to do it. He can't do it. And we will try to fix Steve's video next time. So see you guys later.
Maybe Michael put a few cents into some better equipment.
I'm going to buy you a ring light. I know that. And grow us a little beard too. Grow us a little masculine beard. All right, guys. See you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.